So now for these 3 months, May, June, and July, we will be looking at Jnana Yoga Shloka Sangraha from Bhagavad Gita. As we looked into before, started with Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, and now we are coming at Jnana Yoga. Sankhya Darshana. So what we are looking at today is Sankhya Darshana, where we will be understanding the two principles of Sankhya Darshana, that is Purusha and Prakriti. Then we are going to learn 6 shlokas of Jnana Yoga, and then we will do group practice. Okay, we'll come to Dhyana Shloka later on. So, Sankhya Darshana is one of the system of Indian philosophy, as there are Shad Darshanas: Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. These are the 6 main Indian thought or philosophy. Sankhya Darshana is a sister philosophy of yoga. So whenever we try to practice, understand yogic principles, it becomes very much necessary to understand Sankhya philosophy as well, because they go parallelly. So what is Sankhya? Sankhya means the number, used in the sense of counting 24 principles of Prakriti. So basically, Sankhya Darshana believes in two principles, namely Purusha and Prakriti. And according to Sankhya philosophy, the entire creation happens because of these two principles. Prakriti has got various evolutes, and they are 24 in number, and that's why because it's related to the number of evolutes of Prakriti, it is called as Sankhya. It also means perfect knowledge of the Purusha or the self, that is we can say the soul or the Atma. Sankhya philosophy regards the universe as consisting of two realities, and hence it is a dualistic in nature, because it believes in two principles, hence it is dualistic. When we talk about Vedanta, it is Advaita, means non-dual. It believes in only one principle, that is Paramatman. Who is the founder of Sankhya philosophy is sage Kapila, which is believed to be the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So this is, we are just touching this Sankhya very at the surface level. We are not going into the depth because it's a vast subject, but only in order to understand the concept of Jnana Yoga, it becomes very, very important to understand Sankhya philosophy. All right. So now we are going to look into the concept of Purusha. What is Purusha? Purusha is the seer, drashta, who we are, which is our inner reality. That is only the truth. So what are the qualities of this Purusha? If you want to achieve or progress on the path of spirituality, there are various ways according to individual's nature. Now, some are very action oriented. So for them, karma yoga is suitable. Some are very emotional and sensitive. For them, bhakti yoga is a way forward. Some are very much in the practice of meditation. So for them, it becomes Raja Yoga is the path for them. And for the intellectuals, now actually in spirituality, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are academically. It's nothing to do with that. But those who want to explore with the intellectual approach, for them, Jnana Yoga is the path. Now, if you want to progress towards liberation, because that is the ultimate aim, purpose of Sankhya and Yoga, and being human beings, one should correctly know what is Purusha and what is Prakriti. That becomes very, very the vital or the subject matter of this practice. So this is pure, subtle, cosmic consciousness. As we say that there is a universal soul. So this Purusha is that always pure. It never becomes impure. It is not gross. It is subtle. It is universal. Consciousness means the Chaitanya. How that Chaitanya is very intelligent, indifferent to anything, towards pain or pleasure, towards success or failure. It doesn't matter to Purusha. And it is inactive. Being Chaitanya, being conscious, it has not got that power to be in action. So it is inactive. It is also the witness, as in the last session, if you remember, if you have attended the meditation session, what we you know pondered upon is the Sakshi Bhav. Whenever you meditate, you need to develop that Sakshi Bhav within, which is one of the quality of Purusha, and he is the experiencer. Whatever our body, whatever our mind, whatever our senses are experiencing in the external world, he just witness it, experience it, but doesn't get affected by it. Then how is the Purusha? It is omnipresent, all pervading, and omnipotent, all powerful. It is not dependent on anything. How it is? It is infinite, ananta, and unmanifest. That is avyakta. It is not manifested. It is in a avyakta form. It is unaffected by time and space. That is anadi, and immaterial. It hasn't got any form or a name, and that's why it's very much becomes difficult to perceive or understand or know Purusha. And it is gunatita, means it is not having any gunas like sattva, rajas, or tamas. It is beyond the perception of mind, intellect, and senses. If you try to understand what is Purusha with your intellect, with your buddhi, with your manas, with your senses, that is the five senses, jnanendriyas, we cannot perceive or understand what soul is, what Purusha is. It is singular and it is independent. So try to remember, try to go again and again, these qualities of Purusha, because this is what we are. But in reality, what happens? For that, we need to understand the concept of Prakriti. So Prakriti is the scene. It is the principle of Mother Nature, Drishya. It is the external reality. So through the senses, whatever you can perceive, through the mind, through the intellect, whatever you can grasp, understand, absorb, that is the part of Prakriti, who we are not. So when you see the trees, all the animate and inanimate things are made up of Mother Nature, that is Prakriti principle. That is unconscious matter. That is very jada, gross. Now, if you look at a chair, which is inanimate matter, or a tree, which is an animate matter, in both the things, that Chaitanya is there, that consciousness, that Purusha is there, but it is at very gross level or dormant level in a chair. So chair cannot move on its own unless you lift and move it to the other place. Tree can grow, can blossom, because that Chaitanya is little bit at higher level in a tree. Similarly, in all of us, like all human beings, animals, birds, unless and until that Purusha, that principle of consciousness present into that gross matter, it is unconscious. It is Jada, it is dormant. It is the physical world, what you can perceive, what you can see outside. It is inert, it is transient, and it is vyakta, it is manifested and finite. Exactly opposite of Purusha, Prakriti is experience with all our senses. So whenever you uh, observe or watch a beautiful scene or nature, a sunset or a sunrise, you just feel happy, blissful. So that perceiving that nature is the part of Prakriti. But who is experiencing that is the Purusha. It is with name and form. So all of us have got certain form. This Purusha is trapped within this gross body. Once this Purusha leaves the body becomes uh, very dormant, very gross. It can't move on its own. It is mutable and manifold, dependent and perishable, governed and subordinate, because it needs the Purusha's governors to act, and made up of three qualities, that is the gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So what is sattva? Sattva is the principle of clarity, lightness, goodness, always pure, elevating, uplifting, enlightening. What is the quality of rajas? That is passion, insights want to create, acquire, enjoy. So that driving force within you is of rajas, that this is my aim in life and I should constantly work towards it. Tamas, what is tamas? Is a very dull or ignorant state of a person, which is very demanding or deceiving and can lead to destruction. Now, when these two principles, I would like to give some example in order to make it a bit simpler, because it's a very complicated topic. Um, when a lame man and a blind man, just imagine a lame man, can he move on its own? No, it needs someone to guide. So that blind person, for the blind person, someone has to help to show the way forward. Correct? Or we can take the example of uh, iron and a magnet. What happens is, iron or the magnet and the iron gets, there is certain force that they come together. Or for a lame man and a blind man to move forward. So always the lame man sits on the shoulder of a blind man. Lame man tells the blind man to move ahead. So that lame man acts as a Purusha and the blind man acts as a Prakriti. So whenever they come together, the entire creation is, or that creation happens. Unless and until these two principles are separate, there is no creation. So Purusha is there just as it is in a Sakshi Bhav. Prakriti is dormant because it hasn't got that governance to manifest. And when the Prakriti is in its dormant form, all the gunas, that is sattva, rajas, and tamas, are at perfect equilibrium, balance. Once this Purusha comes closer in proximity to the Prakriti, there is imbalance of these three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and this imbalance results into the creation of the universe. So what is our role in terms of Purusha and Prakriti? To have the correct knowledge and awareness about what is Purusha and what is Prakriti. what I am and what I am not. So this correct understanding can lead us to liberation, can develop the right discrimination while doing desireless actions, because whenever we do any action, we get attached to the action, to the fruits of action, and then we get entangled into the cycle of birth and death. In order to escape that cycle, we need to develop the understanding of what is Purusha and what is Prakriti. In the next session, we are going to look into the 24 tattvas or the evolutes of Prakriti, what they are, because whatever there in the universe is made up of these 24 principles and nothing else. Once you develop the correct understanding of these 24 principles, 24 evolutes or the tattvas, we need to slowly develop that viveka and vairagya, the discrimination and detachment towards Prakriti. And we should start uh, reversing the journey towards our true nature, that is Purusha, and that is the subject matter of Jnana Yoga. I hope you can absorb something from this. If you have any questions at this point, you can unmute and ask me. And just let me know if you are with me with this topic. Any questions? Any doubts?
Okay, keep Manjiri here.
Yeah.
So you talked about in this that we need to understand who we are and who we are not.
Hmm.
So in that sense, does yoga or anything has any kind of prescribed way to understand it? Because as an ordinary person, we don't know how to understand that part.
Yeah. See, whatever the thoughts or the philosophies explained in Sankhya, yoga becomes the practical tool to achieve it. Okay. So you can say that Sankhya is the theory and yoga is the practice. Now, when we will go through in the next session the 24 tattvas of Prakriti, it becomes a bit easier to develop that sense of detachment towards these 24 tattvas. And remind yourself, that is why in Jnana Yoga, Manana, Chintana, and Nididhyasana means on one single principle. For example, Prakriti, one of the evolute of Prakriti is the mind. Whenever we become sad, what that Purusha within us perceives, that I am sad. Because what happens when Purusha comes in the proximity of Prakriti, we are no more Purusha, but we are the Jiva. What is Jiva? A ignorant person who is very much entangled into these 24 tattvas of Prakriti. We feel I am this body. We feel I am these emotions or thoughts. I am this intellect. I am, whenever I become sick, I feel I am sick. So at that time, what you will tell yourself? I am not sick. That Purusha is unaffected, indifferent. It is the Sakshi Bhava. That is what we are. We are not pain, we are not pleasure, we are not body, we are not mind. That's what we have to remind ourselves again and again, again and again, which is called as abhyasa, the repetitive effort, the uninterrupted practice or efforts. I hope I have answered your question. For a ordinary person like us, because I know it's not easy. You take any path, even karma yoga is not easy, even bhakti yoga is not easy. For bhakti, you should have that quality of complete surrender. For karma yoga, you should have the quality within that I am in total action, but I am in action. How you can develop that attitude within you? Even Raja Yoga, you need to work on your body, breath, mind. You have to progress on the path of dharana, dhyana, and meditate or samadhi. Jnana yoga is again becomes a very complex subject because our purusha, what we are, is right now entangled, trapped within this prakriti, and that's why we are ignorant. We are in ajnana. What only we have to do is start removing the layers of ignorance, and that purusha within will illuminate. I hope you're with me.
Yeah, thank you, Katie.
Okay. Anything else? Any other question, doubt so far what we are discussing right now?
Ketki, Rajiv here.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are going to the Prakriti. What are the other what do you call, types of this
Prakriti.
Prakriti? What
Yeah.
are the other ones are you going to cover apart from Prakriti? I mean, I want to understand the bigger picture. You just explain
Yeah.
the.
So right now in this session, just try to understand what is Purusha and what is Prakriti, the two principles of Sankhya philosophy. Hmm?
Okay.
For the entire month, probably, you just contemplate, think about what I am and what I am not. In the next session, I know it is difficult to understand what Prakriti is unless we understand the evolutes of Prakriti, the 24 tattvas. So in the next session, in the next month, we are going to look into the 24 tattvas of Prakriti that will make you understand that what I am not. I have just mentioned you that body, mind, senses, all these are the part of Prakriti. But that we are not. Right now, what we feel, I am the body, I am the mind. Because that Purusha, that Chaitanya is trapped within this Prakriti. Am I clear?
Okay. Yeah. Just that. In earlier Sankhya, I think you try to explain different, like every individual has a different
Mm-hmm.
strengths, and you know, do we need to think of ourselves as we listen,
Uh-huh.
where individually, like I am more
Mm-hmm.
more aligned with.
Correct. You are coming close to it because Jnana Yoga is all about self inquiry. What is my nature? Who am I? So start thinking about this, asking questions. If you have those questions within, start reading about it, start searching about it.
Okay.
So that is the way of going forward on the path of Jnana Yoga. Read the scriptures and try to come over or try to, come over the two gunas, that is Rajas and Tamas. See, liberation is far away. Hmm?
Yeah.
That is the ultimate aim. But for ordinary person like us, it is there, but it is right now far away for us. So right now, what we can do, we can at least bring down the Rajas and Tamas within us and make the Sattva dominant all the time. Because what happens, maybe in the morning, when we get up, the tamas is dominating because still we have that hangover of the sleep. Slowly we come into the rajasic form where we start acting, start working. Some moments, some hours in the day, you're perfectly focused, concentrated on your work. In between, there are distractions. Why it happens? Why your attention concentration can't last long for long period of time? Because sattva comes, but again drops. Because rajas and tamas becomes again dominant.
Yeah, I think in this modern world and where the social media and everything, so many of distraction. I think it is a real
Yes.
challenge for everyone,
Yes.
particularly
Slow.
for younger ones, is really next to impossible for
Correct.
them.
Correct.
Yeah.
So whenever there are distractions, you that's what Jnana Yoga or any path will do. It will make you aware. Right now, the thing is, we are going through all this Prakriti, but we are not aware what is the truth. We get distracted, we get pulled down, we get stressed out because we believe that we are body, we are mind, we are our emotions, we are our senses.
So is it true that we should not be doing a multitasking in a way? The
Huh?
reason is it true that we should not really multitasking at the same time? I mean,
No.
as we're listening, I was going through on my iPhone emails. Okay, let me go through.
Ah.
So is that so where we stand now?
Exactly. So right now, Rajas is active in you. At a one time, you just focus on what activity you're doing. See, we are eating, but we are watching TV. Huh? We are working, but at the same time, we are watching the WhatsApp. It should not happen. At a time, just focus. So when you can focus with full awareness, with full attention on that activity which you are doing right now, then your total awareness is present there. And that will help to develop sattva within you. Pull down the rajas, pull down the tamas.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Really good point. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. This subject will become more clear maybe in the next session, because then we will understand these 24 tattvas, which are very important. Because once you understand these 24 tattvas, you will understand we are not that and we are only this. You can, we'll just go through the list of qualities of Purusha again. We are pure, we are subtle, we are universal, cosmic. What? The Chaitanya, the consciousness, the awareness. We are that. That is our true nature. Right now, it is trapped into the body. We are the intelligent, indifferent, inactive. We are just the Sakshi Bhava. So, whenever something happens, we get affected with it. Isn't it? Right now, this all COVID is going on. Everyone is getting affected so badly. But even in this situation, can we bring the quality of witness? You have to do action. You have to help those who are in trouble, but don't get affected by it. If you help, don't have that pride that, oh, I'm, helping so many people. If you're, unfortunately, we are losing on many our closed ones. We are getting affected by that. But then can we develop that sense of witness? Just experience it. Don't get affected by it. Because that's what you are. But we are acting exactly opposite like Prakriti. What we are omnipresent, all pervading. We are everywhere. Because once we lose on this gross body, the soul is also always there. It is infinite. It is eternal. It never gets die like our body. It's perishable. It is unmanifest. It is not vyakta. So for becoming vyakta, it needs the help of Prakriti. So Prakriti is vyakta. Purusha is avyakta. It is unchanging. Whatever happens, Purusha doesn't change. It is unaffected by time, space, or all the gunas. Because our mind gets affected. Our inner balance gets affected. When tamas dominates, when rajas dominates, we cannot perceive, and hence it is very difficult. We cannot perceive, understand with the help of mind, intellect, and senses this Purusha. That's why it needs effort. That's why it needs contemplation. That's why it needs constant practice. So yoga will lead you towards this. Why we are doing yoga, asana, pranayama, meditation, sun salutation, only to understand the concept of Purusha. The aim is the same. You take any path. and it is independent and singular. You have to just contemplate on these 10 qualities of ourselves. That is what we are. In the next session, we will contemplate on what we are not. Okay, so for this entire month, contemplate on these 10 principles of Purusha. All right. Shall we move ahead?
Hi, Kate, please.
Hmm?
I
Yeah.
Sarika here. I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you explained, I just have one question. Like, out of Bhakti, Yoga, Karma, Raj Yoga, and Jnana Yoga,
Uh-huh.
what specific sequence has to follow?
Your voice is breaking.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, out of these four yogas, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raj Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, is there a specific sequence one has to follow?
Is
And
there a specific thing?
sequence, like first
Sequence. Okay.
sequence, you,
Okay.
one has to follow? And if yes, then what is that and why? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. It's a very good question. See, day-to-day basis, we are constantly doing actions. Correct? So you can start with developing the attitude of detached action. You are in action, but develop the attitude within. Whatever action I am, sorry. Okay, can you mute? Someone is unmute. Yeah, thank you. So while doing each action, see, whatever action you take, do you think about its fruit, its result? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes. So now can you detach yourself from the result of action, from the fruits of action,
Yes.
and
Right. Yeah.
stay unaffected by whatever the result is?
Yes, we can do that by practice.
See, any path, spirituality is not easy. If we think that, okay, give me some easy path, give me some shortcuts, it's not going to happen. You have to put efforts from your side. So initially develop that attitude in whatever you do. That is desireless action. When that can be developed? Only if you believe in something higher than what you are. And what is that higher thing? That universal soul. Now you, because this Purusha doesn't have any form or name, for ordinary people like us, we want to see what that Purusha is, and that's why we name him as God, Ishvara, Allah, Christ, Jesus Christ, whatever it is. And then through the eyes we can perceive that unmanifested reality. So now the second step is completely surrender, because whenever you do action, what is the attitude? I am the doer. Because of me, everything is going on. I
Yeah.
am the enjoyer. If I do something, I should get fruits of that action because I have done this. No, what spirituality is telling us, what our scriptures is telling us, what Shri Krishna is telling us in Bhagavad Gita. Desireless action. I am not the doer. I am not the enjoyer. The path of Karma Yoga. It will only happen if you have that total devotion, bhakti, shraddha on higher reality. Whatever you believe in. If you don't believe in God, just just imagine when you go to sleep. If you think you are the doer, who is beating your heart? On what force your breathing is going on? Who is digesting the food in your stomach? When you get up next day, you remember everything from the past. Who is doing this? Are you doing this? The sun is rising every day, sun is setting every day. There is rain, there is wind, there is light. There is so much in the nature you can see. What is that force which is doing this? There must be some higher reality. Because of that, it's all there, what you can see, which is out of your control. You're not even that tiniest, even we are smaller than that tiniest particle of the sand. And still we have that sense of ego. I'm the doer, I'm the enjoyer. So this is the path. You start with karma and bhakti, which goes again hand in hand. Unless you have that devotion towards the higher reality, you cannot do the desireless actions. Then start working on your body, breath, and mind. How you can do that? Raja Yoga is the path, Ashtanga Yoga. Do asanas, do pranayama, do meditation. That's how you will learn how to sit at one place without movement. If your body moves, your mind gets distracted. Even we cannot put our attention at a time in one single activity. We need to do so many things because our senses are constantly directed outwards in the external world. Yoga tells exactly the reverse. Turn them inward. If I tell you to sit 5 minutes steady with closed eyes, with total focus and attention, can you do that?
Mind will try to distract.
Yes.
More
Now,
you
why?
give importance, it will like behave in opposite way.
Correct. Now, if I tell you to close your eyes, focus on your breath, mind will resist, mind will wander. Because that is the nature of mind. If you will try to control your mind, it will not listen to you. Simply, it will not listen. Why? Because there is constant movement of energy within your body, that prana. That's why we do pranayama, in order to make the prana still. See, your body is there at one place, but no use, because within the body, the prana is constantly moving. The mind is having lot of activity, action. So that, for that matter, how you can gain control over your body, breath, and mind? Through Raja Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, Niyama, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. This is the path of Raja Yoga. Swami Shivananda says, once you get thoroughly established into Karma Yoga, into Bhakti Yoga, into Raja Yoga, then the sequence is Jnana Yoga. Then only you can differentiate, discriminate between what you are and what you are not. It is not easy just to tell yourself, I am not this body. How that attitude can get sink in within you? Only if you are practicing Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga. So I would say start with, because we are mostly in action, Karma Yoga, develop that attitude. Along with Bhakti Yoga, believe in something higher than you, surrender completely. Work on your body, mind, breath. I think all the 4 paths will, at least help us to progress a little bit forward. Initially, if you think Karma Yoga is for me, practice Karma Yoga full-heartedly, 100%, not with doubt, not with any shortcuts. Okay, so Karma, Bhakti, Raja Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, that can be the sequence.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. Anything else? Because I want to spend some time, because this topic is really complex.
Ketki, it's Lena here. So on the next slide for Prakriti, you showed like the 3 gunas, the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And how do we get that equilibrium right? Because, like there's so many external factors around us, work pressures, and what happens, in our like day-to-day lives.
Hmm.
It's so easy to then that balance swings, and how do we maintain that equipoise?
Hmm. See, that is the whole sadhana is about. It's not again easy to maintain that balance all the time, because right now the Purusha is trapped in Prakriti. And whenever Purusha gets trapped in Prakriti, there is imbalance in these gunas. Once Purusha and Prakriti become separate, the balance comes. And that is liberation. That is what is meant by self-realization? To realize I am Purusha and I am not Prakriti. But because that Purusha gets trapped with the Prakriti, as I have said, when Purusha comes in proximity of Prakriti, there is imbalance in the gunas. When Purusha and Prakriti are separate, there is balance of the gunas. So this is all the sadhana. Right now our Purusha is trapped in the Prakriti. So there will be imbalance all the time. So what is the solution? These four paths are the solution. You have to practice Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Remind yourself. See, when you go into, whenever the tamasa get dominant, at least you become aware of that. Then only you can action towards it. But right now we are not even aware of that. When Rajasa gets dominated, we get distracted, we get stressed. But are you aware of that? Do you know what stress is you're facing right now? And then what is the solution? So whenever you practice Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, whenever you practice asana, what we are trying is to dominate Sattva. So right now the aim is to dominate Sattva. The balance will come only when you're liberated. When the self-realization, Kaivalya, liberation achieved. Only then the balance will come. Right now our aim is to dominate Sattva within us. Because when there is Sattva within us all the time, most of the time, we are with clarity, mental clarity, no conflicts. We can make decisions correctly. There is lightness. You're full of, purity. Your heart becomes pure. Right now, our heart is very impure. Our mind, our body is all, impure. Why? Because Rajas and Tamas are dominant. By doing bhakti, by doing karma yoga, what we are achieving? Antakarana shuddhi. Once your heart becomes pure, sattva dominates. And then you progress on the path of yoga towards the self-realization. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you. I mean, it's a journey, isn't it? And
Yes,
it's
yes.
small steps.
Small steps at a time. So don't get overwhelmed with this, because see, it's not even the journey in one birth. If you're right now in this session, if you're started doing something on spirituality, that means something you must have done in your previous birth. It's the journey, birth after birth, thousands of birth, millions of birth. Unless and until we lessen the karamashaya, means the impressions, the memories, the desires within us, we are bound to take birth. That's why developing detachment, developing vairagya is important. Right now, even we are attached to a single spoon in our house. We are attached to how I look, my hair, my skin. We are attached to all our relatives, our children, our work. We have to develop sense of detachment in everything we have, we do. That will lead to making less and less desires, less and less attachment. That's how first become free, at least from these desires and attachments. So this is a constant journey, birth after birth, not only in single birth, but it depends on how much effort you put in this birth. So if you do practice spirituality, you are moving ahead on the path of liberation. Every small step counts. Okay. All right. So I hope, are there any questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Ketki. Priya Golap
Hi.
here. Hi. Would you please put some light on Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva? Or basically, what is the difference between them?
See, as I have said, Sattva is the mental clarity. You are always clear. You don't have any confusion within. The sense of lightness, the sense of purity, the sense of goodness, blissful. You're always happy, peaceful, blissful. Your heart is pure. That is Sattva Guna. Rajas, when you're passionate about something, that driving force makes you work hard. That pushes you to do something. Or whenever you feel your mind gets restless, distractions, that is Rajas.
No, but is the then passion is bad for us to get something?
See, having passion is not bad. But if you're getting attached to that passion, that is not the way forward. If you're getting attached to your job, to your work, and you're feeling that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I just love doing this and I hate doing this. That duality. I like, I dislike. I love, I hate. That is Rajas. Can you develop the sense of witness towards what you like and what you don't like? If I don't like a particular person, what I will do, what will be my action? I will avoid that person. I will stop talking to that person. I cannot develop that neutral attitude within. I will react to it. We feel that whenever we react, we are doing something. That is Rajas. And what is Tamas? You're almost in inertia, dullness, lethargy, lazy. So we neither want Tamas, neither want Rajas. On spirituality, the way ahead is dominance of Sattva all the time. Is that okay?
Yes, Ketki, I'm clear.
Okay,
it was really fabulous explanation. I got it. Thank you.
Just one quick thing. I just want to, I think the way I understand is as a practical way for me to look at what we discussed so far is to take yourself out of from your physical or body in a way and think as a third party.
Correct.
I enjoy the journey of whatever without emotions and expectations and ego with that matter. So and then then the journey becomes interesting.
Yes. And see, there is a very thin line. I don't want to say that you have to become emotionless. No. Being emotional is the nature of a human being. But getting again attached to those emotions is not the way forward. You love your children, but don't get attached to them. Once they go in university, away from you, we become restless. We become a bit sad. Why? Because of attachment. See, this attachment is putting us a lot in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're sattvic, you're witnessing everything, unaffected by anything. Like you said, like a third person, Sakshi Bhava, you can look at any person, any situation, anything. And that is the quality of a yogi, which is called as Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna means what? He is not getting affected by pain or pleasure, by success or failure, by anyone's birth or anyone's death. That is Sthita Prajna. That means if you can remain unaffected, Sakshi Bhava, Sthita Prajna, tell yourself the Sattva Guna is getting dominant within you. If you get sad, if you get affected, if you get lazy, if you get dull, tell yourself, right now Rajas is dominating, Tamas is dominating. I should overcome that. How? With these 4 paths. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we move ahead, or there are any still questions? Okay. So today we are going to look at the 6 Jnana Shlokas, means related to Jnana Yoga, the verses from Bhagavad Gita. So always we start with Dhyana Shlok. So I am going to chant it. Please repeat after me. You can unmute yourself. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam.
Om Parthaya
Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam
Narayanena Swayam
Vyasena Grathitam
Vyasena Gratitam
Purana Munina
Purana
Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrutavarshiniam
Advaitamrutavarshiniam
Bhagavatim
Bhagavatim
Ashtadashadhyayinim
Ashtayashayayinim
Ambatvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Just go through the meaning of this Dhyana Shloka. That which was taught to Arjuna by Lord Narayana himself, truth, which is the time tested and exist from the time immemorial and therefore devoid of any defects, that is the Purusha, is pure, having no defects in it. Anadi, Ananta, that is only the truth, which was written by the most experienced sage Vyasa, who is the incarnation of Lord Narayana himself, in the middle of Mahabharata. O mother, called Bhagavad Gita, which has 18 chapters, who showers the nectar of Advaita, that is one truth. Truth can be only one, and that is Purusha. I meditate on you, who destroys all obstacles before I begin this study. So I need to meditate on what? On this Purusha. For the next month, we are going to meditate, we're going to contemplate on all the principles of Purusha, and tell yourself again and again, this is what I am, this is what I am. Okay. Shloka number 1, please repeat after me. Aho batamahat papam.
Aho
Papam
Kartum vyavasita vayam.
Kartum
Vayam
Yadraja sukhalobhena. Hantum swajanamudyataha. So we'll go through the meaning, what Arjuna is saying. Moreover, it is a great shame that knowing and understanding everything, we are still ready to commit such a great sin of killing our own men, kinsmen, just because of greed for kingdom and pleasure. So this is very important shloka because Arjuna represents all of us. Now in Mahabharata, everything is decided that yes, Duryodhana and Kauravas, they are not ready to give Hastinapur to Pandavas. So there was no choice but to have the this fight between Kauravas and Pandavas. And at the very beginning of the this Yuddha, when the armies of Kauravas and Pandavas are standing in front, what Lord Krishna does, because Arjuna wanted to see the army of Kauravas, what Lord Krishna does, he brings the chariot in front of all his kinsmen. Who were there in front of him? Guru Drona, Krupacharya, Bhishma, all his relatives, his gurus. What happens to Arjuna after seeing all of them? He gets attached. How can I kill my own Guru Drona? How I can kill my own Pitamaha Bhishma? Purposefully, Lord Krishna brings the chariot in front of those people who are loved ones, close ones. If just imagine if Lord Krishna have put the chariot in front of any damn person who is not related to Arjuna, nothing doesn't matter. But because he sees all his own relatives, again he get attached to them. And that is what Arjuna is saying. How can I kill my own people? So what Krishna's advice is, Api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnanaplavenaivam vrujinam santarishyasi. O Arjuna, even if you are the greatest sinner, he feels that I am making a sin by killing my own people. In the world, this river of sins can be crossed with the boat of Jnana. We feel that I am the doer. I am killing my own people. That's what Arjuna thinks, because he's attached to them. And that's the same thing happens with us as well. We feel I am the doer. But if you have that jnana, if you have that perfect understanding of Purusha and Prakriti, you can cross the river of sins with the boat of jnana. That's what Lord Krishna is telling him. तद्विद्धिः प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्षन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः He further says, O Arjuna, learn the principles of jnana and ask questions about jnana respectfully and with determination from those who will understand the principles of jnana. Unless and until you ask the questions, the clarity won't come. You will not understand. Knowing jnana, you will never be in the confused state as you are in right now. Because there is ignorance, because there is ajnana, we always become confused, get conflicts. We can't decide what is right, what is wrong. So develop that sense of jnana within you and everything will be clear. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Sorry, that is missing here. Nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah. Ajo nityam shashvatoyam puranam. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Shri Krishna said, Dear Arjuna, the Atman or the soul or the Purusha can neither be born nor can it die. It is forever, immortal, eternal, ancient. The soul in a body does not die when the body itself perishes and ceases to exist. The soul always lives on. Purusha was on. Even before we are here, we are born, Purusha was there. After we go, Purusha is going to be there. That's what we have to remember all the time. We have just taken the form and a name. We are in Prakriti. One day we are going to leave this body, but this Atma within us will always be there. That Purusha will always be there, and that's what we are. We are not body, we are not mind. That's what we have to contemplate on. Veda vinashinam nityam. Ya enamajamauvyayam. Katham sapurusha partha. Ganghatayati hantikam. Arjuna, he who knows the soul to be eternal, indestructible, permanent, unborn, and endless, that person can neither be killed or be killed. So if you are feeling right now, you are going to kill your own people, that's not the case. Because you cannot kill the soul. It is going to be eternal. That's how Shri Krishna is explaining, giving hitopadesh to Arjuna. Nainam chindanti shastrani.
नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि
नैनं दहति पावकः
नैनं दहति पावकः
न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो
न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो
न शोषयति मारुतः
न शोषयति मारुतः.
The soul cannot be cut by weapons. Nainam chindanti shastrani. That soul cannot be cut by weapons. Nainam dahati pavakah. Burnt by fire. Absorbed by air. Nor can water wet the soul because it is unaffected. It is not going to get destroyed, cut by weapons, burned by fire, moved by air, absorbed by air, or neither going to get wet with water. Soul is unaffected, and that's what you are. All right. So this is what the 6 shlokas are. I will stop the sharing screen now. Okay. So, do you have any questions?
Just one thing, this Krishna, I think, says this: do the karma without outcomes or expectation. But then, what will motivate a person to do things when there is no clear, when there is no consequences of the actions that he does? Because if he's attached, not attached to that actions, is that a good thing?
See, anywhere, what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you cannot stay for a single second without action. Whatever the result is, whatever the consequences, because even when you are breathing, you are doing some action. So there is no moment in life you are without action. So whatever the consequences are, only the thing is you have to look at it like a third person.
Okay.
Keep doing all your actions. Don't
that's
stop.
What I said.
Yeah, don't stop doing any
Third
action in life.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it very high dose in the morning today for all of you?
Yeah, now I'm going to tell my husband I'm not attached to kids and housework. Please carry on doing it.
Very good. See, but again, remember, you should not avoid doing actions. You are in the middle of actions, yet you have to have that attitude within you. You are not doing the action.
Yeah, right. So we cannot get away with our responsibility. We are responsible as parents and wife or whatever we are. We have our roles to do. We cannot say that I'm not going to do that. Otherwise, it will be kind of being lazy.
Correct.
But yeah.
Giving up on any responsibility. That's why, leaving our house, leaving our people. If you go in the forest and become a monk, are you be free from all the attachments? You will even your body is in the forest, you will think about your house, you will think about your people. So leaving everything and going somewhere is not the way. In the middle of the action, you should be able to develop or remain as a witness. That is the practice. That is the sadhana we have to do while staying in the samsara.
Ketki, I have a doubt. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi. Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is Priya. I think we have to get away from worry as well as ego.
Yes.
This is the thing.
Yes. See, if we do something, or if we are constantly worrying about something, remind yourself you are trapped in Prakriti. Having attached to any emotion, it's not going to help you. Again, look at that problem or that any issue in your life like a third person, as if it is not yours, and think about it. What can be done? Worry and what you said? What second?
Hello, ego.
Yeah.
Ego.
Yes,
Because
yes.
I did this. The me is there. So
Yeah. So whenever you are doing action, now if you have prepared, delicious puran polis, what you think I have met? Now everyone should come and praise. Okay, experience that. Enjoy the process of making puran poli. But then every time it should become like this. Now this time, my puran poli are not so good. You're getting sad, or you're just getting or expecting that everyone should praise how well I have cooked. Everything you go through it, you do it, and you take yourself out of it instantly. We do, and that thing remains forever within us. We help someone, and that remains within us forever. I have helped that person 10 years back, or she or he has said something to me, he insulted me, that stays with us forever. Can you come out of that? That is the sadhana. So ego, of course, you have to surrender ego. That is the self-surrender, the path of bhakti.
I think this is the best thing, because of, if you get able to get out of this, as looking at third party, taking ego out, expectations, emotions out, you bound to be very happy person.
Yes.
Because you're content.
Yes, and that is your true nature. Blissful, happy. What is Purusha is Sat Chit Ananda, Satchidananda. Why it is called like that? You are there, you are conscious, and you are in state of Ananda all the time. When you can stay like that, only Sattva Guna is dominant. Only you can develop the attitude within. I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer. I surrender my ego completely towards the higher reality. And I know what I am, and I know clearly what I am not. Only then you can stay happy forever. And all the sadhana is to reduce pain, reduce misery in the life. Spirituality is for that. And it teaches us how to remain happy, content, without any reason. Because that is your true nature, and you should understand that. Happiness is my true nature. Being stressed, being worrying, being sad, being restless is not me. Being happy, being content is the me.
So does it mean that not to have any expectation from anyone else? In real meaning, because that's the best way you could be happier.
Yes. Have least expectation.
Sorry, just one thing to add there, Rajiv. Expectations, yes, when you do an action, that's what Yatki said, you have to detach from the actions. But the expectation, every time that it will happen the way you want to do it, that expectation is wrong. So what I mean is, if I am doing a certain thing, Puran Poli was a nice example. If I am doing a certain thing the way I have been told by my mom, then my daughter-in-law should also do it the same way that I am doing it. That expectation is wrong. The expectation could potentially be that, oh, there is a different way of doing the same thing and achieving the same result. That could be a nicer expectation or a positive expectation. But doing it the way I am doing it for past 20 years, and the daughter-in-law should do it, or son-in-law, whoever it is. I should not be going into that, but having that kind of expectation is wrong.
Yeah, what I'm saying is why should I have expectations for anyone else, like my wife, my son, daughter, to have to be able to cook the Puran Puri for me? Why should I have it? Because that's where the issue is.
Correct. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can live without the Puran Puri during Holi, or you have got the means and ways to do it on your own, then you have come out of your
Yeah,
expectations.
because that's the best way, isn't it? Because that's the only way to move out of that trap.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I'm just adding one more point, that having expectation or having attachment is going to put us in trouble. That's what we have to remember. If you want to be happy, be just as a witness. I am doing my actions, my responsibility with 100%, with best of my ability, and now I am leaving everything else to Ishvara. That doesn't mean that you don't have to put effort or you should not have any aims in your life. No, you're doing everything to the best of your capacity and then leaving. After doing that action to best of your capacity, immediately detach yourself from it. But that doesn't happen. We stay attached to that particular action throughout our life. And that's why we become again sad, again miserable, and all the problems go on. Not only in one life, but life after life, birth after birth. Yes, Lina.
Yeah, I guess it's a related thing, and I've always felt like a bit of contradiction between, on one hand, we are saying, like you keep on doing your actions, and on the other hand, where we are trying to overcome that imbalance between the rajas to move to the sattva. But I guess, it's more about, as you say, contemplate on how you can detach from the action,
Correct.
continue to do the action, but and have that detached passion as you used. So that means you're still a karma yogi, but you're not letting the rajas get over that balance.
Correct.
Is that
See,
right?
Yes. Always remember, when you're getting attached to the action, when you're expecting certain fruits of action, or getting attached to the fruits of action, rajas is dominant. Once you manage to come out of that action completely means completely, not even this part is there with that action anymore, tell yourself the sattva is dominating.
Because I'm just trying to correlate to work situation where you always feel, like because of and especially currently now with COVID and so on, there are circumstances where like there's so much politics that goes on, and then that leads to pressure on so many people, and it's about how we continue doing what we have responsibility for, but without that expectation, which is probably going to help alleviate many problems.
See, experiencing pain, or what, as you have mentioned, like politics at work, we cannot control all of this thing. Even Ramakrishna had throat cancer. Vivekananda's guru, he had throat cancer. He must have felt that pain, isn't it? But he didn't suffer. He chose not to suffer with the pain in the throat. What we do, we get attached to our problems so much, we start enjoying getting suffering with those problems, with that pain. See how, suffering I am. We want to show it to the world. No, why? See, problems will be there. We cannot avoid them. In spite of having those problems, can we remain indifferent to it? Not, we choose, because we have the freedom of choice. Why we are different from animals? Because God has given this discriminative power. Choose not to suffer, choose not to get affected. That's what we can do. We cannot avoid problems or tell in the workplace that I don't want any more politics. No, it's not in your hand. But you choose not to get affected by that. That what we can do from our side.
So one more thing, Ketki,
You're mute.
Sorry, I think I muted again myself. So in practical way, I was just thinking, all is good, but many times we like a real example is like my son would like him to do quite many things, which is right things and which are important for his son. But thing is, everybody is different and he does things differently, and being a teenager is always a challenge in a way. And then you think, okay, why the other person is not listening to you, even though it is the right thing to do. But then is it right? Then the way you should think about is just to not, of course, not attached to it, but still want to do your own karma, which means, am I right that we should just see the way how best you can empower and motivate the other person and leave it to that? Even and at one point he may come to that, might not now when you want it.
See, it might be the right path from your point of view, correct?
Yeah.
If in case it is not right what your son has chose to do, let him learn from his own mistakes, and that will stay with him forever.
But then what about your responsibility? You think it's your responsibility
See, as a
to
parent,
guide the person.
As a parent, you did your responsibility for telling them that this is not right, this is what you should do. But after some extent, again, as I've said, you don't have any control over it.
Yeah.
And you will find such very challenging, complicated situations in life. But that's why this spirituality is with us, to guide us like a torch, to show the light what path I should be on. I should not go on the path of ignorance, but I know what is the right path. This is what spirituality helps us. And that's why Bhagavad Gita is not just a book or the bookish knowledge. No, we have to apply these shlokas in our day-to-day life. Spirituality should be applied in our life.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? And please feel free, anything you want to share, anything, because it's an open platform. You can contribute, you can express yourself. Just feel free to, or use this platform to express yourself.
It's a great insight, really. I love it.
Thank you. Okay, so I will be putting the recording of today's session in our group. Also, there is Atman Yoga Consultancy YouTube channel. There are all the previous videos, right from Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga. If you're interested, you can go through them. And keep the even WhatsApp group interactive, keep posting nice things related to the topic. And if you feel like expressing something on that day, this is the platform through which we can interact and share our knowledge, share our thoughts. So thank you very much for joining today's session. In the next session, we will be looking at the next 6 shlokas related to Jnana Yoga, and we'll be looking at the 24 tattvas of Prakriti, and then this subject will become more clear. So thank you and take care. Have a good weekend and see you in the next month. Till that time, contemplate on the qualities of Purusha. Read about this topic.
Thank you, Ketki.
Thank you,
Beautiful
Ketki.
session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ketki. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ketki.
Yeah.